Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are taking that whole stack of sources you shared with us and pointing our compass toward the sun. We are diving deep into the Bahamas.
Yes, a place that is, it's basically synonymous with that idea of tropical perfection.
Exactly. But as we're about to find out, it's way more complex and a lot more expensive than the travel brochures let on.
It really is the ultimate postcard paradise, isn't it? You see those pictures, the impossible white sand, that turquoise water, and it just, it locks into your brain as the perfect Caribbean escape. But our sources make it so clear. The Bahamas is not just one thing.
Not at all. And that's our mission today, to get past that surface level, that glossy photo. We're here to really dissect the hype, to analyze the actual logistics of getting around. We need to understand the, frankly, staggering costs and find those genuine cultural moments.
And we're looking at the main hubs like Nassau and Paradise Island, but also contrasting them with the out islands.
Places like the Exumas, Harbor Island.
Right. And we've got a ton of material on this, from the sheer scale of the mega resorts all the way down to, the best shack to eat at in Arawak Cay. Understanding that contrast is the key to a good trip. Or, honestly, to avoiding a huge financial mistake.
And that's the central tension, isn't it? It defines the whole experience. You've got this undeniable, just breathtaking natural beauty,
The clearest water in the world. Literally.
set against some really tough realities. The price tag, the insane crowds from the cruise ships, and how hard it can be to find anything authentic when you're in one of those resort bubbles.
That tension is so real, and every traveler has to basically pick a side. Are you there for convenience, or are you there for authenticity?
So that's what we're going to walk you through. We'll start with the logistics of just, navigating 700 islands. Then we'll hit that big question,
Yeah.
the resort bubble versus the out islands.
We'll spend a lot of time on the food, because it's incredible, and on the unique economics that drive those high prices.
Yep. We'll point you to the must-see historical sites and, maybe most importantly, the tourist traps you can and should absolutely skip.
The goal here is just to give you the tools to match your budget and what you want out of a vacation to the right island. It's all about knowing before you go.
All right, let's get started with just getting around. So, landing in the Bahamas is pretty straightforward, at least at first. The main way in for almost everyone is Linden-Pindling International Airport. That's NAS, just outside Nassau.
Right, that's the main gateway. And the sources paint a pretty good picture of it. It's modern, it's efficient, it's built to handle a lot of people.
And the connections are good.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
You've got direct flights from all over the U.S., East Coast, the Midwest, major cities in Canada, and there's even a long-haul flight from London. So just getting to the front door of the Bahamas is usually pretty smooth.
But once you're through that door, at NAS, that's where the real complexity kicks in. Because you're not just in the Bahamas, you're on one island in a massive archipelago.
That's what we're calling the 700 island question. This isn't one destination. It's 700 islands and cays spread out over, I think, 100,000 square miles of ocean.
Wow.
So the first choice you have to make, the one that really sets the tone for your whole trip is, are you staying in that Nassau and Paradise Island hub, or are you going to venture out?
Out into what they call the out islands or the family islands.
Exactly. Places like the Exumas, Eleuthera, Harbor Island. That's where a lot of those postcard photos actually come from.
But getting there is a whole other layer of planning.
It is. It takes some real logistical work, and you have to be realistic about island hopping. It's not as simple as it sounds.
Okay, so what are the options? I see two main ones in our sources. These little puddle jumper planes and the ferries. Let's start with the planes.
Right, the puddle jumpers. These are small domestic airlines like Bahamas Air or Western Air. They're fast, which is great for covering long distances over water. But, and this is a big but, the sources really emphasize these planes are small.
How small are we talking?
We're talking single propeller planes. Sometimes just 9 seats, maybe 15.
Okay, so that's not just an issue for nervous flyers. What are the practical problems with that?
Well, baggage for one. The allowance is often tiny, so your big international suitcase might not make it on the plane with you.
Seriously.
It happens. And more importantly, these flights are they're subject to the realities of island life. Weather rolls in, a mechanical issue pops up, or things just run on island time.
So you can't have a tight connection.
You absolutely cannot. You have to build in huge buffer times, especially if you're flying from an out island back to Nassau to catch your international flight home.
So booking those on the same day is a big gamble.
A very high-risk gamble. The other option is the ferry system. Bahamas Ferries runs these high-speed catamarans to some of the main out islands.
And that's probably better for people who don't love tiny planes.
For sure. It's more comfortable, generally cheaper. The catch, of course, is time.
Right, a ferry from Nassau to Harbor Island isn't just a quick hop, is it?
Not at all. Even the fast ones can take 3, 4 hours, sometimes more. But the key planning tip here, whether you choose a plane or a ferry, is the same. You must book this inter-island travel way in advance, especially in high season.
These routes fill up fast.
They're lifelines for locals too, not just for tourists. You can't just show up and expect to get a seat.
That is critical advice. Okay, let's zoom back in on Nassau itself for a minute, because you can't talk about the logistics there without talking about what our sources call the 800-pound gorilla in the harbor.
The cruise ships, yes. This one factor completely changes what it's like to be in downtown Nassau. New Providence is a major port for, basically every Caribbean cruise line.
So what does that mean if you're actually staying on the island for a week?
It means that between, say, 9:30 in the morning and 4:30 in the afternoon on a random Tuesday, thousands and thousands of people get dumped into a very small part of the city.
And the whole vibe just flips.
It completely flips. It goes from a relatively calm capital city to this super congested, really transactional place focused on one thing, getting people from the ship to a shop and back again.
So those charming old streets just become a sea of people. What's the strategy to deal with that?
You have to plan around it. If you're staying there, do your downtown stuff, the forts, the Queen's Staircase, any shopping, either really early in the morning before 9 or late in the afternoon after 4.
When everyone's heading back to the ship.
Exactly. If you try to go to downtown Nassau at 1 p.m. on a weekday, you're just going to find crowds, long lines, and what the sources call surge pricing for taxis.
Because the demand just skyrockets.
Tenfold. It's a supply and demand problem in real time.
Speaking of taxis, let's talk local transport. They're everywhere in Nassau,
Right.
but the crucial piece of information is they are not metered.
This is, I think, the single most important piece of advice for any traveler. You must, absolutely must, agree on the fare before you get in the car.
And if you don't, what's the risk? Are we talking a few bucks or a lot more?
It can be a lot more, especially if you're coming from the airport or going to one of the big resorts. The driver sees a tourist who doesn't know the system, and the price can suddenly become very flexible.
So you just have to be firm up front.
Polite but firm. Confirm the price for your whole group, not per person, and just make sure everyone's on the same page. It avoids a really awkward and potentially expensive situation later.
Good to know. Now, what about renting a car? You mentioned they drive on the left. What else makes it tricky?
Well, the driving on the left is the big one, but the sources also point to, roads that aren't very well marked and the roundabouts.
Ah, the roundabout shock.
Exactly. When you're tired from a flight, your brain just wants to go to the right. And in the middle of a busy roundabout in Nassau, that's a dangerous instinct.
So for most people, it's probably better to just stick to taxis.
Taxis, walking, maybe the local jitney buses. It's just less stress than renting a car unless you're really planning to explore the whole island.
And of course, on the out islands, it's a totally different story.
Oh, completely. You get to a place like Harbor Island or Spanish Wells, and the car is basically useless. The golf cart is king. And it's fun. It forces you into that slower, more relaxed pace of life.
So to sum up logistics, book internal travel early, time your Nassau visits to avoid the cruise crowds, and always agree on the taxi fare first.
Get that right, and you'll spend your time relaxing instead of stressing.
All right, once we figured out how to get around, we hit the biggest decision of the whole trip, where you're going to stay. And we have to start with the two giants that just dominate the landscape, Atlantis and Bahamas.
Yeah, these aren't just hotels, they're institutions. Global-scale resorts on Paradise Island and Cable Beach, they represent that ultimate high-amenities, zero-friction vacation.
Let's break them down. Atlantis is the original, right? The big one.
It's the sprawling behemoth. Our sources call it a family-focused universe. And that's what it is. Everything is about scale. You've got the huge Aquaventure water park, the marine habitats, the massive casino.
And that famous slide that goes through the shark tank.
The leap of faith. Exactly. It's all designed to be a completely self-contained, easy vacation for a family.
And then Bahamas came along as the newer, more modern competitor.
That's right. Bahamar is sleeker, maybe a little more chic. It's targeting a slightly more adult crowd. And it's actually 3 different hotel brands under one big resort complex.
But they share the same basic goal, don't they?
Absolutely. Maximum convenience, guaranteed quality. You know you're going to get a great pool, good restaurants, tons of bars.
Everything you could possibly want is right there.
Right there. Which brings us to the core issue. This idea of insulation and scale. The sources describe these places as self-contained cities. The whole model is designed so you never, ever have to leave. You check in, you swim, you eat, you gamble, you check out.
And the result of that is you're basically in a bubble.
You're in a perfect climate-controlled bubble. You're getting great service and sunshine, but you're not really experiencing the Bahamas.
You could be anywhere.
You could be in Vegas or Cancun or Dubai. Many guests never set foot outside the resort walls, so they miss all the local culture, the history, the food.
And that bubble comes with an absolutely breathtaking price tag. We have to talk about the hidden costs, because this is where the budget gets destroyed.
This is, without a doubt, the number one thing people need to understand. It's not the room price, it's the constant stacking of fees.
Okay, walk us through it. What's the first one?
First, you have the mandatory resort fee. That can be $50, $100 a day, just for the privilege of using the Wi-Fi and the beach towels.
On top of your room rate.
On top of your room rate. Then you add the 12% value-added tax, the VAT, and that's on everything.
Your room, your food, a bottle of water from the gift shop?
Everything. So we're already at a high price, plus a daily fee, plus 12% on every single transaction, but we're not done.
There's more.
There's the big one, the automatic mandatory 15% gratuity.
And this is added to every food and beverage bill.
Every single one. Every drink at the pool bar, every meal, room service, even sometimes the grab-and-go coffee shop.
Wow, so let's do the math on that. I buy a $20 cocktail by the pool.
Okay, so that's $20 plus $2.40 for the VAT, plus another $3 for the mandatory gratuity. Your $20 drink is now $25.40 before you even think about leaving an extra tip for great service.
And that just compounds like crazy over a week. A simple lunch for 2 people.
2 salads, 2 iced teas, easily over $100 once all those fees are tacked on.
So if a family of 4 is going for a week, what's a realistic food and drink budget just for inside the resort?
I mean, separate from the hotel cost, you should probably budget $3,000 to $5,000
Wow.
just for food and drinks on site, because everything is already expensive, and then you're adding 27% on top of it all. It's a huge financial reality check.
Okay, so that is the painful truth of the resort bubble. Let's talk about the alternative path, finding the soul of the Bahamas outside of that.
The sources have some great options. Even in Nassau, you can find boutique hotels like Grey Cliff. It's an old colonial mansion. It's all about history, old world charm, a famous wine cellar, the complete opposite of a high-rise resort.
But the real shift comes when you go to the out islands.
That's where the real trade-off happens.
Yeah.
Instead of a giant hotel, you're renting a small cottage or staying at a little guest house. We're talking places like the Dunmore on Harbor Island, with its famous pink sand beach, or a little resort in the Exumas where you're right on the water and there's nobody else around.
But you said it's a trade-off. What do you give up?
You give up convenience. You have to be more self-reliant.
What does that mean in practice?
It means you might be cooking some of your own meals because there are only a few restaurants.
Mm.
It means you have to find the local grocery store. It means you have to call a local guy to charter a boat for the day instead of just signing up at a desk. You're doing the legwork yourself.
So you're trading that guaranteed, frictionless service for tranquility and authenticity.
Exactly, and that's the binary choice every traveler has to make. Are you paying for a generic high-end resort vacation? Or are you paying for a more complicated, but maybe more rewarding, vacation to the Bahamas? They're two very different things. Hashtag TAC4, food, drink, and economic reality.
All right, let's get to my favorite part of any deep dive,
Yeah.
the food. And if there's one food that defines the Bahamas, it has to be conch.
Absolutely. Conch, pronounced conch, is king. It's the national food. It's a type of large sea snail, and it's everywhere. You really have to try it a few different ways.
Okay, so what are the must-try preparations?
Well, you start with the basics. Cracked conch is fantastic. It's tenderized, battered, lightly fried. And conch fritters, little fried balls of dough with bits of conch and peppers and onions, they're the perfect snack.
But the real champion, the one everyone talks about, is the raw version, conch salad.
Conch salad is an art form. It's basically a Bahamian ceviche, and it is a must-try. They take the fresh, raw conch meat, chop it up, and mix it with diced onion, tomatoes, sweet peppers, and a ton of citrus juice lime or sour orange.
And the acid from the citrus cooks the meat.
Exactly. It's bright, it's fresh, it's crunchy, it can be pretty spicy. It's the taste of the ocean.
So where do you go to get the real deal, away from the fancy resort restaurants?
You go directly to Arawak Cay in Nassau. Everyone just calls it the fish fry.
And what's the scene like there?
It's a whole strip of these colorful, pretty simple shacks and little restaurants, and they're all serving up authentic, hearty Bahamian food. The vibe is local, it's busy, it smells amazing.
And the food is heavy, right? This isn't light fare.
Definitely not. We're talking big portions. Whole fried snapper, crispy grouper fingers, and the sides are iconic. You've got peas and rice, and you have to try the Bahamian baked macaroni and cheese.
Which is different from what we're used to.
Oh, totally. It's dense, it's cut into squares, it's almost like a savory cake. It's incredible.
And our sources mentioned a couple of specific spots there to try.
Yeah. Oh, Andros and Goldie's come up a lot. They're known for having huge portions, so it's a great value compared to, a resort meal. This is where you taste the real Bahamas.
Okay, and to drink. You've got the local beers, colic and sands. And then there's the legendary Sky Juice.
Ah, Sky Juice. The sources come with a serious warning label for this one.
Why? What's in it?
The ingredients sound so harmless. It's gin, fresh coconut water, and sweet condensed milk.
Gin and condensed milk. That sounds weirdly good.
It's dangerously good. It tastes like a creamy, sweet coconut dessert. You can't really taste the gin.
And that's the trap.
That is the trap. It is deceptively potent. You can drink a couple of them really fast, and then all of a sudden you realize you probably should have stopped an hour ago. It's a classic.
So you've been warned. Approach with caution.
Hmm.
Now, let's circle back to the expert perspective on why everything costs so much. It's not just
Okay.
taxes and resort markups, is it?
No, you have to understand the basic economics of an island nation. The Bahamas is import dependent, massively so. Something like 80 or 90% of all their food and consumer goods have to be shipped in.
So there's a huge supply chain just to get a carton of milk onto a shelf.
A huge, expensive supply chain. You've got the shipping costs, refrigeration costs. And then on top of that, the government puts significant import tariffs on most of these goods.
To generate revenue, I assume.
Right, and to protect what little local industry there is. So those tariffs, plus the shipping, plus the retailer's markup.
And then the 12% VAT.
Exactly. That's why the sources give that crazy example of a gallon of milk or a loaf of bread costing $8 or $9 in a regular grocery store.
So that gives us a really important cost-saving tip.
A huge one. If you're staying in a resort for a week, your first stop after you leave the airport should be a local grocery store and a liquor store.
Before you even check into the hotel.
Absolutely. Take a taxi, go to a Solomon's Fresh Market or a Burns House Liquor, and stock up. Buy a case of water, snacks, beer, a bottle of rum.
Because buying those things one by one at the resort pool bar will cost a fortune.
A ridiculous fortune. That one taxi ride can save you hundreds of dollars over the course of your trip.
That is great, actionable advice. So the bottom line on food is, go local, try the conch, and stock up on your own supplies.
That's how you get the best flavor and the best value. Hashtag Tag 5, activities and historical context.
Okay, we know the beaches are incredible. Cabbage Beach, Pink Sand Beach, they speak for themselves. But let's move past the beach chair. For the active traveler, what is there to actually do?
Well, you have to start with the biggest tourist phenomenon in the country right now, which is in the exumas, the animal encounters.
Led by the world-famous swimming pigs.
The swimming pigs of Big Major K. It's a bizarre and wonderful thing to see. These pigs literally swim out to your boat to get fed.
It's become a massive industry, right?
Huge. And most people experience it as part of a full-day tour package. It's not just the pigs.
What else is usually included in those tours?
You'll almost always stop to see the endangered Bahamian rock iguanas on another K. They're these big, prehistoric-looking lizards. And then the other big highlight is usually a stop at Compass K.
And what's there?
That's where you can get in the water and swim with dozens of nurse sharks.
Wow.
They're very docile, very used to people. It's a pretty thrilling experience. So you get pigs, iguanas, and sharks all in one day.
Now, because this is such a big business, our sources bring up an important point about being a responsible tourist.
Yes, the ethical consideration. Whenever you're dealing with wildlife tourism, you have to choose your tour operator carefully.
Because some are just in it for the money.
Exactly. A good responsible operator will have strict rules. They'll make sure people are feeding the pigs the right food vegetables, not, beer or junk food.
And they'll protect the environment.
Right. They won't let tourists trample all over the iguana's habitat. You want to look for an operator that clearly respects the animals and the environment, not just one that's trying to pack as many people onto a boat as possible.
That's a great point. Okay, let's head back to Nassau. It gets a bad rap as just a cruise port, but there's a ton of history there.
A deep, rich history. You just have to get a block or two away from the main tourist drag on Bay Street.
The Queen's Staircase comes up in all the sources as a really powerful place to visit.
It's incredibly moving. It's 66 steps that were carved by hand out of solid limestone by enslaved people in the late 1700s.
And it was a strategic project, right?
Yeah, it was built to create a protected escape route from Fort Finn Castle down to the city. When you walk up those steps, you can feel the history. It's a story that you're definitely not going to hear about at the resort.
And the forts themselves are worth seeing.
Absolutely. Fort Finn Castle is right at the top of the stairs, and Fort Charlotte is the big one. It's massive, and it gives you these incredible sweeping views of the harbor. You can really understand the geography of the island from up there.
What about for someone interested in Bahamian culture today, not just history?
Then you have to go to the National Art Gallery of the Bahamas, the NAGB. It's in this beautiful old mansion, and it's all about showcasing Bahamian artists. It's a powerful way to see the country through the eyes of its own people.
A necessary counterpoint to the resort experience.
Completely. And there's one more fun one, a bit of pop culture history.
I think I know what this is.
James Bond. If you're a diver or even a strong snorkeler, you can go see the actual wreck of the Vulcan bomber from the movie Thunderball.
That's so cool. It's just sitting there on the seabed.
Right off the coast of New Providence, it's a fantastic piece of movie history you can actually swim over.
And switching gears to the out islands, the activities there are much different. It's not about historical sites.
No, in the out islands, the nature is the activity. The whole point of being in the Exumas with its 365 Ks is to be out on a boat. You're fishing, you're diving, you're snorkeling. The water clarity there is just unreal.
So the goal is just to find your own private beach for the day.
That's it. It's a much quieter, more serene kind of vacation. It's about self-guided discovery in a pristine environment.
So you have Nassau for structured history and entertainment, and the out islands for pure natural immersion. Hashtag tag 66. What's a skip and the real vibe? Okay, every deep dive needs a skip list. Let's focus on what's not worth your time or your money. What's the first big tourist trap to avoid?
The one that's recommended by almost every taxi driver in Nassau, the straw market.
It's a famous landmark, but the sources are pretty harsh on the modern version of it. Why skip it?
Two main reasons. First, the sales tactics are incredibly aggressive. It can be a really high-pressure, stressful experience just to walk through.
And second,
The stuff for sale isn't really authentic anymore. It's mostly mass-produced souvenirs, almost all of it imported from Asia.
so you're getting hassled to buy a keychain that says Bahamas, but was made in China.
Pretty much. You're much better off seeking out small, independent artisan shops if you want a genuine, locally made souvenir. Skipping the straw market just saves you stress.
Good to know. What's next on the skip list?
Be very wary of the cheap booze cruises.
The ones that promise an all-you-can-drink party for a low price.
Exactly. The sources say these often mean you're packed onto an overcrowded boat, they're serving really low-quality rum punch, and the stops for snorkeling or swimming are brief and chaotic.
You get what you pay for.
You really do. It's much better to spend a bit more on a smaller, more reputable charter for a half day. You get a better experience, a better boat, and you actually get to enjoy the water.
And the final one. This is a big financial trap.
The Atlantis Day Pass, this is for people who aren't staying at the resort but want to use the water park.
Which is tempting, I'm sure.
Very tempting. But the pass is, in the words of one source, wildly expensive. We're talking hundreds of dollars per person for one day.
And for that price, you're just guaranteed to be the biggest crowds possible.
That's the problem. You are competing for a lounge chair, a spot in line for a slide, and a table at lunch with every single hotel guest, plus every other person who bought a day pass.
The value just isn't there.
It plummets. You'll spend most of your expensive day just waiting in line. The advice is clear. If you really want the Atlantis experience, it's better value to just stay there for a night or two.
That makes sense. Okay, so with the skips out of the way, let's talk about the real vibe. What's it actually like when you're outside the resort walls?
It's a country of contrasts. On one hand, you have that famous island time. Things are slow, relaxed, they happen when they happen. But running right alongside that, especially in Nassau, is a very real economic hustle.
The slow pace is cultural, but the hustle is about survival.
Exactly. Tourism is the lifeblood of the entire country. And that creates a lot of pressure on people working in the service industry to make money from visitors. That's why downtown Nassau feels so transactional when the ships are in port.
But despite that pressure, the sources are all very positive about the Bahamian people themselves.
Overwhelmingly positive. They're described as warm, friendly, incredibly proud with a great sense of humor. The best advice for a visitor is just to engage, say good morning, make eye contact, be a person, not just a customer. It completely changes the dynamic.
And this brings us back to that mandatory 15% gratuity. Understanding the local vibe means understanding that fee.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to be clear that 15% is a critical part of a worker's income. It is not an optional tip. It's built into the system because the cost of living there is so incredibly high. Rent is high, gas is expensive, food is expensive. That fee is essential.
So you should view that as part of the base price and then tip on top of that for great service.
That's the right way to think about it. It's a necessity for the local economy.
And finally, the vibe really changes depending on where you are and when.
It has a geography. Downtown Nassau, with 5 cruise ships in port, is chaotic and transactional. High energy, high pressure.
But that same street on a Sunday morning.
Is a quiet, historic, charming town. And the out islands are something else entirely. They're slower, more community-focused. It feels less like a performance for tourists and more like you're just watching real life unfold.
So finding the real Bahamas means being intentional about where you go and when.
You have to move with the tides of tourism and respect the flow of the local economy. Hashtag tag 7, conclusion, and final verdict.
So we've dissected the hype, we've analyzed the costs, we've explored the two very different paths you can take in the Bahamas. The resort bubble versus the out-island adventure. It's time for the final verdict. Is it worth it?
The verdict is completely conditional. It really depends on who you are and what you're looking for. We have to break it down.
Okay, let's start with the big budget family, the people who want that easy, all-in-one vacation.
For that group, for the family with a significant budget who wants endless entertainment and zero stress, the answer is a definite yes.
Places like Atlantis and Bahamar are expensive, but they deliver exactly what they promise. The cost is justified by the sheer convenience and quality. Verdict for families with money. Worth it. Now, what about a couple looking for a romantic, quiet getaway?
For them, it's a yes, but. A big but.
And the but is?
You have to skip Nassau and Paradise Island. The romance, the tranquility, that's all in the out islands. Go to Harbor Island for the pink sand. Go to the Exumas for the seclusion. That's where you'll find the experience that justifies the price and the travel effort.
So, a strong yes for the out islands, a no for Nassau. Finally, the budget traveler, the person trying to make every dollar count.
For the true budget traveler, the honest verdict is probably not worth it.
Why not?
The basic cost of everything is just too high. The import tariffs, the VAT, the price of food and gas. It's one of the most expensive countries in the entire Caribbean. Your money will simply go much, much further in other beautiful places.
That's a clear and balanced assessment. So the final rule is, the trip is only worth it if you match the right island and the right budget to the experience you actually want.
Know before you go. If you want peace and quiet, don't book a hotel attached to a casino. If you want 1,000 things to do, don't rent a remote cottage. The value is all in that initial decision.
A perfect way to sum up our deep dive. Thank you for helping us navigate all of this.
Of course. And as we wrap up, there's one last provocative thought that sort of builds on everything we've talked about, especially the resort bubble. We established that these mega resorts are so big, they can basically create their own economic ecosystem. They import their own food, their own goods, and they keep almost 100% of a tourist spending inside their own walls.
Right.
So this raises a question for the conscious traveler. When you're spending thousands of dollars on a vacation in the Bahamas, how can you be strategic about making sure that money is actually helping the local economy? How do you support the small restaurants, the local artists, the boat captains, instead of just adding to the bottom line of a big international hotel chain that happens to be located in the country but isn't really of the country? That's the final balance you have to try and strike.